In this lecture, we're going to talk about the urinary system. And here on the left, you have a normal looking kidney. And on the right, there is obviously a very distressed looking kidney. In fact, this person looks to be suffering from something called polycystic kidney disease. And you can see the cysts growing in there. Kidneys are ultimately going to get much larger, and their shape is going to change, and the person will probably ultimately have kidney failure. We'll talk more about that later, perhaps. So, some stuff to think about. What are the parts and functions of the urinary system? What are the macroscopic and microscopic structure of the kidney? What are the three processes in urine formation? I kind of talked a bit about that in the previous video, but we're going to talk more about it today. How is the kidney involved with regulating water, salt, and acid-base balance of blood? What are common disorders of the kidney? We just saw one of them, which is that polycystic kidney disease. How can kidney failure be treated? How is the kidney involved with maintaining homeostasis along with the other body systems? So what are the organs of the urinary system? First and foremost, you have two kidneys. They sort of are on either side of your spine underneath a thin tissue layer that makes them actually pretty hard to find if you're doing a dissection. You have ureters, which feed out of the kidneys into the urinary bladder. So you make this urine in the kidneys, and those feed into the urinary bladder, which is this expandable organ where you hold urine before you expel it through the urethra, which is the tube that carries urine from the bladder to the outside of your body. So let me orient you really quick. So here you have the aorta. You've got the aorta, and from the aorta, this feeds into the renal arteries. And the renal arteries are going to go directly into the kidneys. Okay? And blood, obviously returns from the kidney area through the renal vein back into the inferior vena cava. So kidneys produce urine, ureters transport the urine to the urinary bladder, and then the urinary bladder stores the urine, and then it is ultimately passed outside via the urethra. And then you have these adrenal glands here, which are going to secrete hormones to help you regulate your homeostasis. They're going to help you regulate the amount of stuff like salt and water in your body. So what are the functions of the urinary system? Well, obviously excreting metabolic wastes. As the name implies, urinary system, it's involved in urination. It also helps you maintain your water, salt, and acid-base balances. And it secretes this hormone called renin, which renin helps you control your blood pressure. And then EPO, or erythropoietin, which we talked about in the last section, which helps you control the amount of blood in your body. Remember, blood doping involved injecting this EPO. And it helps you reabsorb potentially filtered out nutrients and helps you make vitamin D. So those are all the various functions of the urinary system. So excretion, you're mostly getting rid of nitrogenous wastes, and the nitrogenous wastes are principally from urea, or principally in the form of urea, which is caused by the breakdown of amino acids. So when you're breaking down amino acids, amino acids are made of strings of peptides, and those peptides have a nitrogen component to them. And then you get uric acid, which is caused from the breakdown of nucleotides. Remember, those nucleotides have base pairs. Those are going to cause the production of uric acid. And creatinine is made by muscle cells from the breakdown of a chemical called creatine phosphate. But this is where the nitrogen in your body is coming from, the breakdown of these three things. So proteins, amino acids, and from the muscles. So your urinary system also helps with the maintenance of the water salt and acid base balance. These are homeostatic mechanisms, meaning your body is wanting to keep the same relative amount of water salt, and it's wanting to keep a relatively stable pH throughout your existence. So that you can maintain stuff like blood pressure, and so that you can maintain like a constant amount of blood as well. The kidneys are also putting out hydrogen ions and reabsorbing bicarbonate ions, and helping you keep your blood pH, around 7, around roughly neutral, maybe slightly basic, but roughly neutral. So your body secretes this hormone called renin, which is helping you to regulate your water-salt balance. It's also helping you to maintain your blood pressure. Okay, so renin is an important hormone involved in the urinary system, involved in the kidneys. You also have erythropoietin, which is, again, stimulating red blood cell production when your oxygen is too low. So if your oxygen levels are too low, your body is going to say, okay, we need to make some EPO. We need to use that EPO to signal that it's time to make more blood so we can get oxygen flowing everywhere in our body. It also helps you reabsorb filtered nutrients. We're going to talk about what a filtered nutrient is in a few minutes. And it also helps you to make vitamin D. So you need vitamin D so that you can utilize calcium that you're going to eat in your digestive tract. So if you remember, protein is made of strings of these amino acids put together, and this is an amino acid here. This is an amino acid called serine. Not that that's pivotal for you to know, but this is what one component of a long string of amino acids making up a protein might look like. And you'll notice here that we have this nitrogen. Every amino acid has these nitrogens on them, and those nitrogens can be turned into ammonia. They will be readily turned into ammonia. Okay, so ammonia is a product found in a lot of cleaning. It's a chemical found in a lot of cleaning products like Windex. So, again, having urea in your body, having a lot of urea isn't good, but just having this pure ammonia out here is actually far worse. So your body converts these nitrogen bases into ammonia and then ultimately turns them into urea, which your body can actually deal with. This will do stuff like dissolve in water so that you can filter it out and then get rid of it or excrete it, which is what we do. So this is the reason you have urea in your body, is to avoid these kind of dangerous nitrogen components or nitrogen molecules like this ammonia here. So we have urea because it's easier for us to deal with than ammonia. So what are the 3 regions of the kidney? You have the renal cortex, which is an outer granulated layer. Basically what I want you to know here is that the renal cortex is the outer layer. Then you have the renal medulla, which is cone-shaped tissue masses, which look like a triangle. So it's a renal pyramid because it kind of looks like a pyramid. And then you have the renal pelvis, which is a central cavity which is continuous with the ureter. So as you create urine and pass it out, it's going to go straight through the renal pelvis. So you have ultimately, after the process of urine production, after your blood has been filtered out, it goes and is stored in the urinary bladder. And the thing I just wanted to point out here is that you have voluntary and involuntary control of the urinary bladder, and it's connected up to 2 different sections of your central nervous system. The parasympathetic fibers, which control the involuntary portion, and this internal sphincter here. And then you have the voluntary or somatic nerves, which are connected to this external sphincter, which is under voluntary control. So if you tried to hold your urine forever, you wouldn't be able to do it. Ultimately, the involuntary control would take over, but there is also a voluntary control component, as you guys all know. So let's just get a kind of look at the gross anatomy of the kidney here. So you have this renal artery coming in, and you have this outer renal cortex here, and the renal medulla internally here. So cortex, medulla, and then in here the renal pelvis. And then this is just a slice that's been blown up a bit, and it shows you where the nephrons are in here. So the renal cortex is this outer layer, the inner layer is the renal medulla, and then inside of that is the renal pelvis. And the collecting ducts you see feed from these nephrons down into the renal pelvis. And you can see hopefully why this is called the pyramid, the renal pyramid. It kind of looks like a triangle. So what is the functional unit of the kidney that produces urine? Well, that would be the nephron. And the way the book in your lab depicts it makes it look like there's only one nephron per kidney, or maybe 5 or 6, but there are actually over 1 million nephrons in each kidney, which is a good thing because you have a lot of blood that you need to process. So I'm not going to cover all of this here. I might talk about it again in class if you guys would like to. But I'll just do a very, very, very fast run through. So you have the afferent arteriole here, which is bringing blood into the glomerulus. Okay. Then you have the efferent arteriole, which is taking blood away from the glomerulus. Okay. And this is going to spread out into these capillaries that are surrounding this nephron tissue. And so anything that leaves the nephron is going to get reabsorbed. Anything that leaves the nephron is going to get reabsorbed by these capillaries. So stuff that's smaller than formed elements is going to go to the proximal convoluted tubule. Stuff smaller than formed elements goes through this proximal convoluted tubule, and the stuff that you want to keep in your blood starts to exit. It starts to exit these sections of the nephron and get reabsorbed by the capillaries, okay? And stuff that you don't want in here, stuff like urea, goes through, continues through, and gets excreted from your body in the form of urine, okay, via the collecting duct, not collecting duct, the collecting duct through the renal pelvis and out the ureter, into the urinary bladder, through the urethra, and out of your body. And you can see here, here's the outer renal cortex and this inner renal medulla, and you see the nephron sort of traverses these two layers. So the proximal convoluted tubule has microvilli to increase its surface area, and it also has a lot of mitochondria. Okay? And nutrients are getting reabsorbed from the filtrate here. So remember, the filtrate is the stuff that's continuing on through the nephron. Nutrients are coming out in the proximal convoluted tubule and getting sucked up by those capillaries. Then it descends down the loop of Henle, starts in the cortex, goes to the medulla, then it goes back into the cortex. And what's happening here is that the osmolarity, or the concentration, is changing. So as you get deeper into the medulla, the concentration outside the loop of Henle goes up. The increase of that concentration causes water to leave the nephron. So increasing that concentration causes water to leave the nephron and get sucked back up by all those capillaries. All right. This is also a region where salt is getting pumped out, again, increasing that concentration and causing water to come out. So again, the glomerulus lives in the glomerular capsule, and the glomerulus is just a knot of capillaries. The proximal convoluted tubule is an epithelial layer with a bunch of microvilli to allow reabsorption of the filtrate components. So stuff that you want to keep in your blood is going to come out and get reabsorbed here. And then the loop of the nephron, where a bunch of water is able to leave the filtrate and actually, again, get reabsorbed because of the high concentration, because salt is getting pushed out here as well. The distal convoluted tubule This is important for the movement of molecules from the blood to the tubule. And you have collecting ducts, which are nephrons, which are going to ultimately carry urine to the renal pelvis, and then from the renal pelvis to the ureter, from the ureter to the urinary bladder, from the urinary bladder to the urethra, from the urethra out of your body. So, you know, I've already shown this slide. I just kind of wanted to show it again with a little bit of that context, okay? So again, and there's a video, a whole long video I did about this. I think it's posted in week 4 or week 5, so please go check that out if this is not making sense to you. I might explain this in great detail. So what are the three processes? The three processes in the formation of urine. You have glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, and tubular secretion. So glomerular filtration, water and small molecules are going to continue on, while large molecules like formed elements are going to remain in the blood. So some stuff is going to come out of the blood, and some stuff is going to stay in the blood. The stuff that stays in is the formed elements. Remember, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, and plasma proteins. So some of the proteins that are just floating around in your plasma are going to stay as well. Stuff that gets filtered, or stuff that can be filtered anyway, is water, nitrogenous wastes, nutrients, and salts. And remember, you're going to want to keep some of these things. You're going to want to keep some of these things, which is where the next stage comes in, the tubular reabsorption and secretion. So many molecules that were in the filtrate are actually reabsorbed into the blood. So many of the things that were on their way to becoming urine are actually coming out in the proximal and distal convoluted tubules and are getting reabsorbed into the blood because you want to keep them. It would not be very efficient if you were just peeing out glucose every time you ate glucose, okay? Or every time you were producing glucose by breaking down more complex molecules. So tubular secretion is a second way to remove substances such as drugs, hydrogen ions, and creatinine from the blood. Okay, so there's secretion and reabsorption. Reabsorption is when stuff is going from these convoluted tubules back to the blood, and secretion is when stuff is going from the blood back into these tubules. So the kidney how does the kidney maintain homeostasis? This is one of those points to ponder, or things to think about. Well, you get rid of a bunch of wastes from your urinary system. You remove urea, creatinine, and uric acid. Remember, urea and uric acid are those nitrogen-rich compounds that could be very bad for you, could be very dangerous to have. Helps you maintain water-salt balance because you can either pee out a lot of water or a little bit of water or a lot of salt or a little bit of salt. It helps you regulate your blood volume and pressure because it's helping you regulate the amount of blood that you actually have. It helps you maintain the pH balance of your blood, or the acid-base balance of your blood, by releasing various hormones such as hydrogen ions and bicarbonate ions that are helping you to keep your blood roughly neutral. And it assists other systems such as the endocrine, cardiovascular, skeletal, muscle, nervous, and digestive system by delivering oxygen and picking up wastes from them. Delivering oxygen to them, I should say, and picking up wastes from them. So what is the juxtaglomerular apparatus? Where the afferent, arterial, and distal convoluted tubule touch, there is the juxtaglomerular apparatus, and it secretes this chemical called renin, which causes the release of aldosterone by the adrenal cortex. And basically what that does is helps you to regulate your blood pressure. So renin, I'd like you to know, helps you regulate your blood pressure. And I'm going to show a picture of where this thing is. So if this description doesn't do it for you, that's okay. So here you have your glomerulus, okay? your afferent arteriole. Remember, the afferent arteriole is bringing blood in, and your efferent arteriole is taking filtered blood out. And where the afferent arteriole and distal convoluted tubule, that's this thing here, where the afferent arteriole and distal convoluted tubule touch, you have this juxtaglomerular apparatus, and that again is for releasing hormones to help you regulate your blood pressure. All right, and it's right here where the afferent arteriole and distal convoluted tubule touch one another. So how is the blood volume and blood pressure maintained by the kidneys? Well, it helps you to reabsorb salt, which increases blood volume, via these chemicals. So you have aldosterone, which is helping you to get rid of potassium and hold on to sodium, and ANH, or atrial natriuretic hormone. Okay, I prefer to call it just ANH. It's secreted by the heart when the blood volume increases and inhibits the secretion of aldosterone, which promotes the excretion of sodium. Okay, I'm not super worried about this one or this one. I just want you to definitely know what the names of these things are and understand that they're involved in blood pressure and blood volume regulation by the kidneys. Okay, so aldosterone and ANH. They also help you establish a solute gradient. So they help you establish a solute gradient. And what I mean by this is that you're going to have more and more salt as you get into the inner medulla. Okay, so the cortex is the outer layer, the medulla is the inner layer. You have more and more salt as you get toward the inner medulla. And the reason that's important is because it's going to cause water to be reabsorbed. Okay, so water gets reabsorbed because the kidney is getting saltier and saltier. And you'll remember that process of osmosis. Water is going to go wherever there is a higher solute. And there are special proteins that are allowing water to cross those plasma membranes. Okay. You have this other chemical that I would like you to know. Just know it as ADH. Just know it as ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. It plays a role in water reabsorption at the collecting duct itself. So what this is showing here is this descending and ascending loop of the nephron, which you should see check out in that video about the nephron's function. But so as you get deeper into the medulla, you increase the solute concentration. You increase the amount of stuff that's in here. So water is going to come out more and more as you increase the amount of stuff that's in here. ADH, or antidiuretic hormone, plays a role here. Okay, so diuresis means increased amount of urine, and antidiuresis means decreased amount of urine. So when ADH is present, more water is getting reabsorbed. Okay, more water is getting reabsorbed, which means you have less urine. So more water is coming out into the blood. Okay, it's helping to fine-tune the tonicity of urine, or fine-tune sort of how much stuff is dissolved in each area. So for example, you secrete a lot of ADH at night when you're not drinking a whole bunch of water. All right, you secrete a bunch of ADH at night, and so when you wake up in the morning, your urine is more concentrated. Right. And maybe I should spend some time in class with you guys talking about this sort of one-on-one. But ADH is very important for water reabsorption within the nephron itself. So what role does alcohol play in the process? Well, alcohol inhibits ADH secretion and thus increases the amount of urine and dehydration. For those of you that are old enough to drink, I'm sure you have noticed that when you are drinking, you are peeing a lot more. So it's getting rid of the ADH and causing you to pee a lot and causing you to get more and more dehydrated. So the kidneys secrete these hydrogen ions and they secrete these bicarbonate ions, okay? And I don't want you to know these chemical formulas, but I want you to know is that buffers can keep the pH range of a solution within a certain band, or within a certain range, I should say. So if you take something that is a pH 9 and put it into a certain kind of buffer, that buffer will cause that pH 9 to decrease to 7. Okay? If you take something that's a pH 4 and potentially put it in that same buffer, it's going to cause the pH of that to increase to 7. The point here being that buffers cause the pH of whatever you put into them to be neutralized. It doesn't matter if it's an acid, it doesn't matter if it's a base, a buffer is going to neutralize the pH or make it close to 7. Buffer is going to make whatever you put into it get near 7. Because remember, 7 is neutral, above 7 is basic, below 7 is acidic. So remember, the respiratory center in the brain increases the breathing rate if your buffers in your kidney can't maintain that pH. So they see this this condition, this changed buffer, and they realize, okay, well, we need to get more oxygen going here. We're getting too much of certain chemicals. Our pH is changing by too much, and so we need to breathe faster. And ultimately, the kidney is what is responsible for keeping your pH of your blood around 7.4. So again, your kidneys are actually, I said releasing, but they're actually absorbing hydrogen ions and releasing bicarbonate ions into the capillaries. So this is how they're serving as a buffer. This is how they're maintaining the pH. I'm not worried about the chemical details here. I just want you to know that the kidneys can serve as a buffer for your blood and keep the pH of your blood relatively stable. So I want you to know that kidneys help keep your pH of your blood stable, and I also want you to know what a buffer is.